Welcome. Thanks for being here. I'm going to tell you something that makes a mockery of a good deal of the money I've spent on perfume, which is that the smell that actually means summer to me is not in any bottle I own. It is Coppertone, the cheap kind. Coconut and chemical with a note of hot plastic underneath, and it was never even on my skin. It was on somebody else's. And I've spent 30 years and a huge amount of money, I will not say out loud, trying to buy my way back to a smell that was free and involuntary and not even mine. And here is what took me far too long to understand. That is not a quirk of mine. That is the whole of summer. The smell I was chasing was almost certainly free, almost certainly an accident, and almost certainly belonged to someone else. And there is an entire fragrance industry that has known this for 90 years and built itself on selling the bottled cover version back to me at a markup every June. So this is not a list of summer fragrances. Nobody needs another one. And the ones you've seen are lying to you anyway, by omission, because they sell summer as citrus and light and fresh and offer safe, and summer is none of those things. Summer is enormous and animal and frequently disgusting, and it does not come in a bottle. It comes off other people. Here is what the influencer shopping list will never tell you. We bind to scent harder in summer than any other season because summer is skin and heat and first times, and it writes itself into us deeper and stays longer. And almost none of the smells it brands with us were ever for sale. Above all, the suntan lotion. The one smell that turns a grown adult into a 7-year-old in under a second, which you've never once chosen, because it was chosen for you by your mother or a stranger or a chemist in a lab in the 1940s. So today, I'm going to take you to the places summer's smell is actually made and show you who owns the supply, who got sold the bottle, and who got the real thing for free and never knew it was the luxury. And at the end, I will tell you the one true thing about owning a smell, which is that you cannot. And that is why that is the best news in this whole episode. Let's start with what is true before any money changes hands. Summer owns your nose harder than any other season, and the reason is mechanical before it's sentimental. Heat lifts the smell of everything and throws it into the air. So July is simply louder than January, and there is more of you bare to catch it. And smell is the one sense that skips the cue and goes straight to memory, which is why a single whiff can drop you onto a patch of grass in 1987 before you have remembered the grass existed. And the smells it brands you with are almost never the ones you paid for. Cut grass, chlorine, hot tar, a barbecue 3 yards over, the inside of a tent, a molting popsicle, none of it bottled, none of it chosen, all of it permanent. This is the thing the fragrance industry cannot sell you and is spent 90 years trying to you. And we are about to watch it try, because the summer that got sold is a copy of summer that was always, infuriatingly, free. Now the question the summer fragrance shopping lists are physically incapable of asking, because asking it would lose them the sale, is whose summer? Because there is not one smell of summer, there are at least two, and they are stacked on top of each other like the decks of a ship, and which one you got was decided for you before you could spell the word holiday. There is the summer of shade and money, the one that smells of a good cologne applied after a swim in water and nobody else is in. And the founding object of that summer, if you want one, is the Hermès cologne, the Eau d'Orange Verte, which Françoise Caron made in 1979, although for its first 18 years it was sold simply as the Eau de Cologne Hermès, because when you are Hermès, you do not need to give your cologne an adjective. Let's spray it on skin. It is orange and mint and black currant leaf over a cool, mossy nothing. And it's designed to be splashed on with enormous generosity by someone who isn't counting, and to vanish, and to be splashed on again. It is the smell of being able to waste things. That is the luxury it's actually selling. Not the orange, the waste. And then there is the other deck. The summer of the public pool and the drugstore aisle, the body spray applied in a locker room that smells of feet and disinfectant, the suntan lotion that is mostly there to be a smell because the protection it offers is really theoretical. This summer doesn't get a French perfumer and a renamed cologne. It gets a can from the drugstore shelf, and here is what nobody at either counter will tell you. The can binds just as hard. Memory doesn't check the price tag. Same sun, different bottle, and the strange part is that the bottle you were handed becomes the taste you call your own. Your experience, one is elegant and one is cheap, and you believe that verdict came from inside you, from your taste, when mostly it came from whichever side of the pool you learned to swim on. But here is the part that turns it. The whole industry of bottled summer was invented from its very first object, as a way of selling the rich man's summer to everyone else. Watch. Here is the smell on every towel of your childhood. Coppertone, the orange-brown bottle. And it didn't begin as a vacation at all. It began as a war. A pharmacist named Benjamin Green, an airman stationed in the South Pacific, watched servicemen burn under a brutal sun and started cutting a greasy red veterinary petrolatum into something that might protect them. And by 1944, he had it. And it wasn't for pleasure. It was for survival. Then the war ended, and the same thing happened to Coppertone. That happened to America. It went to the beach, because the beach was suddenly everyone's. In 1939, fewer than a third of American workers got a paid vacation. 10 years later, it was almost half, and still climbing, and nobody had passed a law. It was just prosperity and the car and the new highways and a country that had decided the ordinary family was owed 2 weeks by the water. The thing the rich man had always had. The shore and the time and the leisure came down the decks to the ship, and Coppertone was already there, waiting on the sand. The suntan smell was never the smell of your holiday. It was the smell of the idea of one, arriving at the same moment the holiday itself did. So the fragrance industry learned early and permanently that summer is the most sellable season because it is the one where people most want to be somebody slightly better than themselves, somewhere slightly better than here. And it built a machine to sell that wanting on a calendar. The machine is called the flanker, and once you see it, you can't stop. Here's how it works. You have a fragrance you wear, you like it, it's yours, and then every spring around the same time, the clocks have gone forward and the first warm day has made everyone slightly hysterical. The house that makes your fragrance releases a summer version of it. It is lighter. It is bluer. It is, more often than not, more dilute and cheaper to make, a thinner pour of a cooler idea. It has a word like or soleil or sun or summer or cologne, or my absolute favorite for sheer brass, intense, which is somehow applied to the weaker one. And the message, never stated, always received, is that the thing you already own and love has become slightly indecent, too heavy, too much, wrong for the season. You are sweating in February's perfume, and everyone can tell. Look at what they did to light blue. The Dolce & Gabbana Olivia Cresp, 2001. This is a perfectly nice apple and cedar summer thing that became over 20 years an entire dynasty of summer editions. The sun one and the intense one and the swimming pool one and the one named after a beach, until the original is just the founding member of a club. You're invited to rejoin at full price every single June. Nothing changed about your skin. Nothing changed about the perfume you owned. What changed was the calendar. It's the oldest trick there is, the manufactured need, and summer runs it on the easiest setting of all because the heat is real, and all they had to do was attach a purchase to it. And yet, I'm not going to stand here and be superior about it because I am the woman who keeps cheap suntan lotion on her dressing table like a relic, and snobbery about summer is the most boring position available. So let me defend the holiday self because she is real and she has a smell, and the smell is coconut. And the coconut was a marketing decision before it was a memory. Benjamin Green, you'll remember him. He worked the coconut butter and the coconut oil in to make the stuff smell like a holiday. And it worked so well that a whole country now believes that is what summer smells like. The girl and the cocker spaniel sold you the tan line. The coconut sold you the memory, and you've been paying to get it back ever since. There is a whole genre that exists to bottle the fortnight. Monoi, the real thing, the fake things are faking, is gardenia steeped in coconut oil, and the modern version, the Sol de Janeiro Cheirosa, the entire internet bought at once, the beach in a bottle that lets someone on a grey Tuesday commute carry a Brazilian summer in their bag, a summer they've quite possibly never had. And you can sneer if you like, but it's doing the kindest thing a smell can do, which is to lie to a tired person gently in their favor. And here is the object that gives the entire game away. The single most dishonest bottle in the business is Estee Lauder Bronze Goddess, the smell that more people call summer in a bottle than any other. And here's what it actually is. In 2007, Tom Ford, then still in the Estee Lauder war, made a limited summer edition called Azuré Soleil. a designer option, or should I say a designer object. It was a luxury flanker, the rich man's summer in a high-end bottle. And when his time there ended, the company didn't retire it. They kept the juice, more or less, and they put it in new packaging. And they gave it a new name. And the name was Bronze Goddess. And they sold it as the People's Beach. The exact same smell traveled in one move from the top deck of the ship to the gift with purchase counter from Tom Ford's summer to everyone's. It's the same move Coppertone made, except this time it happens inside a single bottle's own biography in the space of a rename. The same two hands doing the same trick 60 years on. But you should wear the coconut, and I mean it. The holiday self is a real self, and pretending you are above wanting to smell like your best 2 weeks of the year is its own kind of lie. Just know, while you're wearing it, that you are wearing a whole history with a nice cap on. So here is where it all arrives. Summer is the season we bind to hardest, and it is built in the bottle from the least permanent materials we know how to use. And that's not an accident. It is the same fact viewed twice. The things that read as summer, the citrus, the bergamot, the light florals, and the clean musks, are the most fragile materials in the cabinet. They lift off your skin and they vanish by design because that lightness is the summer. And they are the first to be cut and thinned and reformulated out of the bottle because they are exactly the materials the regulators keep tightening around. A heavy winter oriental can survive a reformulation and still sound like itself because it is mostly base and the base is sturdy. The summer bottle is mostly top, and the top is where all the losing lives, which means the smell of summer is fugitive 3 times over. It is fugitive on your skin, gone by lunch. It is fugitive in the bottle, quietly recut under its own label every few years so that even the thing you could buy is not the thing you remember. And it was fugitive to begin with because the real one, the true smell of your true summer, was never in a bottle at all. It was cut grass and chlorine and a stranger's suntan lotion and a popsicle going liquid, free, involuntary, unrepeatable, and already gone before you knew how to keep it. I'm not going to tell you which bottle smells like summer. The honest answer is the one that was open near you the year something happened to you, and nobody can sell you that. Not Hermès, not Estee Lauder, not the woman with the ring light and the affiliate link. What I will tell you is the one true thing about owning a smell, which is that you cannot. You never could. Your summer's smell was never property. It happened in the air between you and the heat and the person whose towel you were near, and it ended, and no store stocks it. They will sell you the cover version every June until you die, lighter and bluer, with a new cap, and you will keep buying it, and so will I, because hope is a renewable resource and the bottle is right there, but the real one was free. And it took me 30 years and too much money to learn that. The best smell of your whole life cost nothing, belonged to no one, and could not be kept. So go and stand near it this summer, the grass and the water and the cheap bright lotion, and breathe it in, knowing it is leaving. That is the only way anyone has ever owned a summer, to have been there, with your eyes shut while it went.